Our second debate of the session is discussing the topic, competition is better than cooperation. We'll hear from the affirmative, Chelton, and then from the negative position, which will be Lincoln. Okay. Are you ready to begin your opening statement?
Yes.
Okay. You may begin.
Competition is better than cooperation. I think this is true in many different ways. But the two main things that really make an impact is that, number one, when in competition, you are pushed to do better or make better decisions than your opponent. And number two, when you compete, there is always a winner. This allows the people to follow who they feel they need to follow or who they think will do better as a leader. In World War I, there are many different new and improved technologies created and used. Some of the biggest ones were poison gas and zeppelins. When the Germans started unrestricted submarine warfare, it was in the middle of World War I. Their use of the submarine was what brought the United States of America into World War I because they had shot down a ship that had innocent and very important American lives on it. The Germans built this boat so that they could have an advantage over the Allied powers. Herbert Hoover once said that if you can't win, make the guy ahead of you break the record. I believe in this quote because in competition today, we feel the need to win over our competition, causing us to do better and think better than you would if you cooperated. This is because if you are in competition, the opponent is pushing you, forcing you to make pressured decisions and pushing you to do better and try to win. None of this would happen though if you were cooperating. This is because when we cooperate, we only learn what the other person knows and nothing else. This is because no one is making us or pushing us to learn more. When you compete, there is a winner and a loser. This allows the people to follow who they think is better, which would usually be the winner. But if for some reason they like what the loser has to offer, then they can follow them. This wouldn't work if they had cooperated because if someone doesn't like one of the people that are in the group, they still have to follow them no matter what because they are cooperating. Let's say hypothetically today in the presidential race, someone doesn't like a certain person and likes someone else. This would affect against each other. If they compete against each other, then that person would still be able to choose who they wanted to be president. If they cooperated with each other, that person would still have to choose both of them even though they really do not like the other person. According to statistics, 57% of Americans are either Republicans or Democrats, meaning that half of the population would be affected by this. This is a bad situation because since the people won't be able to choose who they want, it could lead to assassinations, rebellions, and many other things leading to everything but peace. In the book Animal Farm, there are two animals trying to be leaders, Snowball and Napoleon. Because they compete, the animals on the farm are kind of able to choose who they want to be their leader. Even though Napoleon drove Snowball out of the farm with the dogs, because of his competitiveness, it still showed how far he would go to be their leader and showed he wanted it more. Now, some might say that this is crazy, but I think Snowball pushed him to his limits by competing, so he responded and kicked him off the farm. Thank you. I now serve you because these are minutes.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes. Okay. Yes or no? Do you think that two heads are better than one?
In most cases, but sometimes both of them, they get in an argument and they compete against each other to see who's better.
Okay. So by saying yes, you're saying that having a group of people working on something is better than working individually.
Yes.
So by saying this, you're saying that, say you have a large group of 1,000 people, you're saying that you would rather have a large group of 1,000 people who are cooperative and want to work together rather than having 1,000 people who want to work against each other?
I wouldn't say that, but I would say I'd rather have 1,000 people, or whatever you said, trying to be better and be the leader of the population so that they can be controlled and not controlled.
Okay. So you're saying that you would rather have people who want to work against each other?
No.
So you would rather have people cooperate?
Yes.
So you stated that you would rather have people who want to cooperate to do something rather than have people who want to work against each other?
Yes, but I don't think that competition is working against each other. It's just competing against each other.
So I don't really think that this is a valid point because if you were to compete against each other and not work together, I don't think you would necessarily make as much progress as you were if you were to like work together. And because if you were to work together, you can kind of take the combined talents of all the people, and you wouldn't really be able to do that if you were to work against each other.
But when like if you're on a team or something, if you're competing to be the number one spot on the team, then basically all of you are getting better because you're all pushing each other.
We'll move on to the opening statement for the negative. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You may begin.
My topic is competition is better than cooperation. I disagree with this topic. I firmly believe that cooperation advances society and helps to achieve things. It is also my belief that competition also leads to violence and disorder. This idea is summed up by a quote from Bertrand Russell. The only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation. My first main point is that if people work together, it is easier to achieve a common goal. An example comes from Animal Farm. After the explosion of Jones, one would expect that the farm would be in a chaotic and confused state. However, the opposite happened. Instead of there being confusion and chaos, there was peace and happiness. This only happened because instead of competing and creating inequality, the animals worked together. They helped each other with work on the farms and eventually even helped each other to complete large-scale projects. And as a result of their cooperation, Animal Farm became a better place. Another example comes from school. In school, we often work in groups. What this does is it makes it easier for us as we don't have to do everything by ourselves. In general, group projects are more fun and easier than individual ones. If you work in a group, you can assign individual tasks to individual people, so you have more people doing things, and when you add that up, you can achieve more than if you were to work individually. My second main point is competition often creates chaos and destruction. The first example is World War One. Though it is true that the war was started by the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, and that the Berlin Conference also played a role in starting the war, but in my opinion, one of the main causes of the war was people's pride and love for their country. In short, many countries wanted to show their dominance and willingness to harm others for the greater good of their country. This is an example of how competition and nationalism can be taken out of hand and end up killing millions of people. Another example is the topic of religion and terrorism. Because there are many different religions out there, all of them believe in different things. Many people believe that their religion is better than the other ones, and that their religion should be the only religion. Some people hate other religions so much that they go so far as to kill themselves just to kill people who belong to a different religion. This is an example of how competition, a seemingly harmless thing, could kill so many people. In just 1 year, 2014, a grand total of 32,658 people died from terrorist-related attacks. Clearly, I am right, and cooperation is much better than competition. This is demonstrated in many ways, like at school, in Animal Farm, and even in World War One. How can competition outdo cooperation when humans literally can't survive without working together? Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
All right. Are you ready to begin? Yes. Okay. You may begin.
You go to school, correct?
Yes.
You participate in the class of physical education, correct?
Yes.
You play sports in the class, right?
Yeah.
When you do that, your team competes in those sports, correct?
Yes.
When you compete, both teams want to win in most circumstances, correct?
Mhm.
Since they both want to win, they both push each other, correct?
Well, your teammates push each other. Yes. Mhm.
Because you all are pushing each other, you all find new ways to win and learn how to do better in that sport, correct?
Well, yeah, but you also work together with your teammates, and that's another way that you can win if you work together.
If you were cooperating, would you have been as pushed as much as you were?
What do you define like cooperating? Like cooperating in a team sport?
Yeah, like the team is working together and going against it.
Well, I would still be pushed hard. Yes.
Or would you be as pushed as much as you were if you were competing against each other?
Mhm.
So you believe, moving on. You live in the USA, correct?
Yes.
You are aware that we can vote, correct?
Mhm.
Do you like being able to vote for who you think is right?
Yes.
Would you like it if would you like it if the person you liked and the person you didn't like ran for office together?
Well, yes.
Please explain your answer.
I mean, yeah, because I would want to vote for the person that I liked.
But if the person you didn't like ran with the person you liked,
Oh, no, I wouldn't like it.
so you would agree that in this case, competition is better than cooperation?
I don't know how this applies to what you just stated.
Because if they were competing, then you would be able to choose who you liked. But since now they are cooperating and they are working together, you have to choose a person you don't like also.
Well,
Time. You all will both have 1 minute to prepare for your closing statements. Okay. Time begins now. Time. You all will both have 1 minute to present your closing arguments. Okay, we will begin with the affirmative position. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you may begin.
Even though, unfortunately, I only got to state a few points, I still think I proved competition is better than cooperation. It also, it allows us to be pushed, and it allows us to learn new things. My opponent stated that that competition leads to violence and chaos. I disagree with this because when you compete, you don't always fight. You are just pushed and to do better because you both want to be the best. Even though in some cases you might fight, it just shows how bad you want. So in conclusion, I state that even though cooperation is good, competition is still better because it allows us to do more and be more.
You may begin.
clearly I am right, and cooperation is much better than competition. This is demonstrated in many ways, like at school and animal farm, and even in prehistoric times and in World War I. How can competition outdo cooperation when humans literally couldn't have survived without working together? Also, my opponent stated that competition makes you push yourself harder and therefore you can work harder. And I don't think that this is a valid point because if you were to work together, you can achieve a lot more because you can bring together the talents of many different people and therefore you can, you know a lot more and you can do a lot more. And as Bertrand Russell said, the only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. If you two would bring me your materials, I appreciate it.
We are currently not.
Everyone who participated in the meeting, you can be back for a
I'm allergic to trees.